Hi, welcome to I Tried to Eat My Phone. I'm Karen Jaworski, and I am joined by my dear friends Katie and Ann today. And we've known each other for way too long, right?
Yes.
And but we're
But we're
going to
not
talk.
that old.
No, it's
No,
amazing how that happened. I don't know.
Yes,
Like it's like 20 plus nothing, right?
exactly.
So we're going to talk about movies today. My first movie question is there a movie that you love that when you hear other people haven't seen it, you're like, are you serious? Like, what's a movie that you're like is so quintessential that you're appalled when people haven't seen it?
I would say The Princess Bride. That's probably
Yeah,
the movie that I am appalled when people haven't seen because it's an iconic classic,
yeah.
Christopher Guest, Robin Wright, and it's not my favorite movie in the world, but it's a movie that I feel like everyone should see.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I haven't seen it.
What?
I know.
Katie.
Wait.
I know.
Did you
So
guys plan this?
no,
Case in point.
but it's true for me. Like I missed a whole chunk of like the 80s. Like I don't know. Like there's so many movies I never saw until very recently that my husband, who didn't even grow up in this country, he's like, I can't believe you haven't seen Ghostbusters. Like I'd never seen Ghostbusters until like a year ago.
You literally grew up under a rock, apparently.
I did. So but then there are other ones that I've seen, I mean, that I could like quote back to you line for line. So I don't know. So it's definitely a mix.
How are you going to amend this? You need to have like a intervention
I know.
weekend
Well,
of
we
like
live close enough that we could do that. But what would even be more fun than watching that would be like Baby Boom
Oh God.
and
such a good
Kitty.
movie.
What's our other like go-to?
I don't know, but Karen, whenever Baby Boom comes on, Annie will just text me. She'll text me a line, or she'll just picture the TV, or I will. And then the other one, the only answer is channel, please. Because
Mhm.
like
Oh,
I'm
Mr. Mom is another one.
my
Oh, that's
God,
a good one.
that-
Yeah.
I see with Baby Boom, my favorite character in that whole movie is the guy who's like the fix-it guy for the whole town when he
Oh
comes
yeah.
out and he's like, yeah. And
Yep.
she's like,
He's like, it's gonna be
Well, as Katie pointed out the last time we were talking about it, which happens often. I mean,
I feel
honestly,
like
anytime I'll show her a shirt and she'll say, "You don't need a $3 shirt. Get a Ralph Lauren."
yeah, yeah.
But she said, "Who in their right mind looks at a paper or a
Right.
magazine and picks out a house and buys it sight unseen?" And we are supposed to think that this woman is powerful and educated and all of these things, but she's an idiot.
Right. She's supposed to have had like her Harvard MBA. Like, wouldn't she know? Like, isn't she supposed to be smart? And wouldn't she know that like maybe she needs to like have like, I don't know, an inspection?
I was just gonna say,
Or
somebody
maybe
come check
see
that
it.
out.
And
Just
somehow
see
she
it.
spent all her money on this house.
Yeah, and it was on the market for what they say, like 10 years or something. It
Right.
was on the market. It
Multiple
was like,
years.
wait, red flag.
Not successful if that's all her money, right?
Right.
I mean, like I would have thought she'd be like more successful enough to have been able to buy like 4 houses like
At
that.
Right,
least
coming
in
from
Vermont.
Manhattan. I mean, her
Mhm.
apartment was pretty darn fancy.
She was
So
supposed to, like, this like so annoying. And also how she never had like an appropriate winter coat for Vermont. I don't right.
That's hilarious.
Like her, like her like a I don't know. She needed a
She wore
parka.
like a long, like Calvin Klein, like wool coat with a tie.
yeah,
Yes.
well,
Right?
it's not like she moved there from Florida. Like,
No.
I mean,
You know?
She's out changing a tire in that
Right, right. Well,
in
yelling
the
at the
winter.
brush on. Yeah, that was good.
that's actually one of my other questions was going to be like, what's a movie that when it's on TV, you're like, all right, gotta sit down and watch it. Like I feel like mine are, well, maybe not so much anymore, but Steel Magnolias.
Oh,
Yeah,
Like
I can't watch that now.
Yeah, it's changed for me.
It's
over
on
this.
Netflix or Prime or something right now.
Yeah.
I can't do it. That or Terms of Endearment, which used to be two of
Yeah.
my favorite, great, like get that cry out. I'm not watching it either
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, Steel Magnolias was always one, although I will say it's one of my favorite quotable movies. And let's talk about that. Like movie quotes, like movies that have generated a lot of quotes for you. Honestly, I find myself quoting Weezer from Steel Magnolias quite a bit, like when she says something about, what does she say? I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years.
That's a great one.
That's one that I always think of, like, that always makes me laugh. But what, like, quotable movies, there's so many great ones that are so awesomely quotable.
I'm going to put Katie on the spot. It's not really a quote. It's almost like a soliloquy. And it's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
It's The Secretary. Katie, you have to do it.
Oh
my. Do it.
I'm not doing it. No.
Mrs. Poole.
But I will tell you, I was driving in Winnetka like a week ago, and there was a car whose license plate, the vanity plate was Bueller. I thought
that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I know.
I can't believe you're not going to do it.
I know.
It's not this one.
Yeah. I love his sister and Charlie Sheen drum.
Oh, right.
To put a pencil in my hair to honor.
Right. And sniffing the white out.
Yeah.
Oh
God. She's amazing. Katie does the best imitation. I'm so upset right now.
I know. I'll do it one day. I'm not doing it while I'm being recorded, though.
Okay.
Okay. For private use only, at some point you can share that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a very good quotable movie. I mean, there's no time where I think I said this on our running text one time that I probably showed that to my kids when they were too young to watch it, but they love that movie. And there is absolutely no time that any of us in this house get tucked in or put a blanket on where somebody doesn't go like,
well, you know what?
Ringy dingy. Like it's just standard. Like if somebody needs a blanket or you pull a blanket up on someone in this house, that's
so funny.
Awesome. Or my sisters and I say to each other all the time, if one of us is either stressed out or Anne said it to me today, like an hour ago, or if we're either stressed out or legitimately sick, we'll say to each other, well, wrap a hot towel around your head.
Oh God. That's so funny. I was just going to say, Karen, to add to your comment about you probably showed it to the girls too young. I definitely did too. And it's one of Livy's favorite movies. But what I realized is that those movies are all PG. There was no PG-13 when we were that age. And so there's some stuff in them that is maybe not what I would want my kids to see, but I look at it and I think, oh, it's PG. It's no big deal. I mean, there's nudity in 16 Candles and that's PG.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
And there's so much drinking and drugs. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a prude, but you don't want to show that to a 10-year-old necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Marks didn't seem to understand that because he was showing George movies that like really young. Like, I'm like, did you actually watch that with him? Like they watched Slapshot, I think.
Hell yeah.
I've never seen that.
Really, really young when he saw that movie. And there were some, Mark was like, but he's got to see these. They're classic. I'm like, he's 7. Like
there were at least 2 times that Mark told me he was watching a movie with George and like 10 minutes in, he was like, I forgot about, I didn't know. And then like shut it off. So he give him a little bit of credit.
Yeah, no, and he does and when George, right, he would fast forward the inappropriate bits.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which is what our parents used to do, Katie.
Yeah.
I can remember watching Flashdance
Oh,
in your
yeah.
living room on Collingwood. And there were a couple scenes that were fast forwarded, not so much because of Katie's parents, but because of my parents, who
Oh,
were
right.
a little prudy.
Yeah, my parents, anyway. But
I think that's true though. I mean, there are times where I forget about scenes in a movie and I'm like, oh yeah, we can watch this. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, right, there's this part. Like, I think Back to the Future was kind of the first ones that I had shown the girls. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's that scene where, Biff is with her in the car in the parking lot. And then I was like, oh yeah, this part.
Yeah.
I forgot about this part.
Right.
But I mean, we just talked about it and, we're like, that was wrong of him to do things like that. But
it gives you the chance to talk about it.
That's true.
Which I'm sure our kids loved, because everybody loved sitting with their parents in a movie when an awkward scene came on and you were like, do.
I used to put the blanket over my head.
That's awesome.
What's the first movie you remember seeing in a theater? Like going to a movie theater or drive-in or whatever, like when do you remember going to see a movie for the first time?
Snow White.
Really
young. I was with the Tarpoffs, the dads took us kids. So Chris and my dad took Emily and Sarah and me and Emily, my sister. And I don't know if Anne was there or not, but that was probably the first movie theater memory that I have. I mean, we were really little when we saw that. And I'm sure the dads were like totally, you know how dads are with like a herd of kids. I don't know. Oh, just drink it,
Well, and that's before the like Disney movies were really made for parents too, with like inside jokes and things that kids don't catch. I mean, Snow White is pretty benign the whole way through, except that she eats a poison apple and there's an evil witch. Outside of that, it's it's a sweet tale.
Right. But
it's a love story.
My younger sister's first movie, again, like I guess, and my mom always talked about like having 3 kids. Like the first one, you're like so careful. By the third one, it's like you don't care.
Right.
So it was like 1.5. And we all went to see the Muppet movie.
Oh,
and that
gosh.
was a very movie theater movie. And my mom was like, she's either going to like be terrified or be really into it. And of course she was super, super into it. But
I don't have, the only thing I'm remembering right now is going down to Campus Theater where Student Bookstore is now. Do you guys remember the theater that was right on Grand River?
Yep.
And I remember one time riding my bike over with my dad, and he had this like super old 10-speed, and I don't even know what bike I was riding. It was barely off training wheels probably. And we just ran inside to get popcorn. And then we went home and we sat in front of the television and ate theater popcorn. It's a fun memory.
Smart move.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Clive.
Yeah.
Way to go, Clive.
Yeah. Clive's, kind of a spendthrift.
Yeah, but he knew enough to know that movie popcorn is the best popcorn you can possibly
get. He likes all that butter.
Right.
Although back then it might have been real butter.
Might have been actually real butter.
George loved that too. I'm always appalled. I never do.
Oh, I love it.
My parents always love to tell the story of like when I was an infant, they took me in the car and wanted me to sleep, and they went to the drive-in and saw Young Frankenstein. And,
oh, cute.
Yeah. And they were like, you were awake like the whole time. Like, I was like, I'd like to think that that's what started my sense of humor is like by osmosis, by seeing that. But I think the first movie I remember seeing on my own, like, like going with a friend, being dropped off at the mall, seeing a movie kind of thing, was The Goonies.
Oh, wow.
Was yeah, and I remember being totally frightened by that movie.
That was
Like,
another one that I had my girls watch a few years ago, and they loved it.
yeah,
George,
And I love it.
I saw it for the first time when George saw it for the first time.
Oh,
really.
sweetie.
I know.
Seriously.
It's a
The
weird.
80s.
I know. I did go see, so I probably the first movie, I was 4 years old. I have no memory of this at all, but I went with my aunt, my mom's brother's wife, brought me to see Shampoo, like the Warren Beatty.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Fell asleep. I remember why I don't I think she really wanted to see it, and for whatever reason I was like in her care that day, or I don't know what was going on, but we went to see this movie, and I remember being I remember sleeping. Like I don't really it's like a fuzzy memory. I don't remember the movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping, and then I remember her telling me about it. But so that was probably the first like movie theater.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
good one. I like that one. I haven't
Weird.
thought about
Like-
that movie in a long time.
Yeah.
What's your is there a movie that you love that you're kind of embarrassed that you love it so much? I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about Hallmark Christmas movies,
yeah.
and that's
Uh,
those
well,
are
I mean, every single Lifetime movie probably, and every Hallmark movie probably. And I'm at a point too where like I probably should be super embarrassed about it, but I'm sort of letting that flag fly now.
You should.
Right now,
yes.
this like the pandemic is finally getting to me. And right now, I'm just sort of like whatever it takes to not feel like I'm losing my mind.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so most of the time, it's putting on something so awful
Hmm.
that like that's all that it I don't know, but
It's
terrible.
distracting, and it reminds you
Yeah,
that
it's
maybe
totally
your life isn't quite as bad as 16 and pregnant or too young to
right.
be a dad.
Oh my God.
Two
That
of my
one was
favorites.
yes, those are classics. Those yeah, that probably is why, or it's escape, or it's honestly, I don't know, but I consume an obscene amount of horrific television, and
It's okay.
kind of what's getting me through.
Whatever
Well,
it takes.
yeah,
Whatever
I
it-
mean, after the last couple of weeks where we stared at a map of the United States for like 7 days in a row, like
I got
Mhm.
it was like, okay, enough of this. Like, let me watch someone who owns like a country shop and leaves the city to like get married to a guy who's like not so sure about the country life, and then like
Nailing it, Karen. That's it. Yeah.
And then she meets a local farmer, and the other guy,
Yeah.
he hits the bricks, and she and the
Right.
farmer fall in love, and they
It's
play
so
Christmas carols at the end.
yeah.
and go ice skating.
And go
Comforting.
ice skating.
It's comforting. It's like formulaic. You know it's going to end well, right?
Right. That's true.
End
Yeah.
with a maniac, narcissistic, orange thing in the White House who refuses to concede with his lawyer's hair dye dripping down his face. Like a Hallmark movie, at least, it's going to end well.
Yes.
When
It is
you're
gonna
when
end
you're
well.
living in a frightening movie
Yes,
Even-
exactly.
of like
Horrible Lifetime.
COVID and everything else, like it's nice to have the
Hmm. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like better than what we're reality right now. For sure.
Is there an actor or actress where like if they're in a movie you're like, oh, I'm totally going, like gotta go see it?
Probably.
I want to say Meryl Streep, but no, it's not
Mm.
her. But that's the answer I want to give
Okay.
because she's really good. But it's probably more along the lines, well, actually I can't name an actress or an actor where I have to go. Although I was this might be my movie that I'm a little embarrassed about, but maybe I shouldn't be. I have two. One is Love Actually. And I can watch the scene of
Oh
Hugh
yeah.
Grant in, number 10 Downing Street doing his little
Right.
dance to Pointer Sisters
Yep.
over and over and over. Like I have actually rewound it to rewatch it more than once.
Can I tell you, having that movie, so I have flown into Heathrow before at Christmas time. And this is before, like, that movie was definitely before 9/11, right?
It
Or
was
it
right after 9/11 because he
right
talks
after?
about that in the
Right.
beginning of it when he's narrating.
Like, whole part, like that's real. Like, that's what it's like. I remember
Yes.
being off the airplane and walking through that same, like, probably not that exact same part, but sort of like that. And then, like, the person who's meeting you, because you could actually meet someone at the airport.
Oh yeah.
Park, and he was like out, like in that, it's truly like that. So I always get like goosebumps when I see that part, like the airport.
Mhm.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
It is a good one, but it's also,
Despite how
I don't
annoying some
know,
people in it are.
a little bit
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah.
My other
What's
one,
your
and
other
this
one?
is
Yeah.
my other one, and this, it'll bring Katie back too. So what Katie and I should probably have explained this. Katie and I have known each other since we were 5. In fact, it might have been a little bit before 5. It was before kindergarten started because my mom used to be like an art and music teacher at the arts workshop. And that was the old marble school at the corner of Hagedorn and Bircham. And she was teaching there, and Margaret showed up, Katie's mom, with Anne, Katie, and Emily in tow. And my mom had to cancel whatever class it was for little kids, and because there weren't enough people. And she came out, and that was the first time she'd met Margaret. But she said, I'm so sorry, but this class is canceled. And Margaret kind of threw it on her arms and she said, well, now what the hell am I going to do? Meaning, like, I've got these 3 kids, like, seriously, just take them, do something with them. But anyway, so Katie and I have known each other for a long time. When the Canadian Broadcasting Channel, or whatever, CBC
Oh, yeah.
movie of Anne of Green Gables came out, and they showed it every Sunday for
Oh my
4
God.
weeks, the first one. And the moms and the daughters, along with a couple of other neighbors, we'd all get in our jammies and we would rotate every Sunday to a different house and we'd watch it. And I was named after Anne of Green Gables, so there's a special, like, soft spot in my heart for that. But I talk about quoting a movie. I mean, I can right now start the movie with a poem that is recited as Anne Shirley walks in the woods and she's imagining all these different things. I mean, that I know it inside and out, backwards and forwards.
Wow.
But it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not embarrassing, but it's just not a movie that most people would say is one of their favorites. But, I don't know.
A lot of people
No, I
feel,
think, yeah, when,
I really do. I don't
Yeah.
think you're that.
Okay.
It's so well done and so
It's
good.
a great production.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think anytime a movie is associated with like a major, kind of impactful time in your life, like
Mhm.
then it really, it solidifies itself, like,
Yes.
and to kind of like take you to another place, or, I mean, that's kind of the whole idea, is like, what would life be like if I were living in that environment? Or,
Right.
that's, when you're a kid, those kind of fantasies are really fun to, like, I mean,
Mhm.
before we had everything else that you can access now,
Right.
like, yeah, that's huge.
It was great.
So when we were in high school, I want to say it might have been junior or senior year. I can't remember. But I saw the movie Shortcuts, which was a compilation of Raymond Carver stories.
I've
And
seen it. I don't remember it though, Katie.
I haven't, I think about it to this day. Well, and also then I read all the stories that this movie was made out of. And so, that I think started my appreciation for, like, the underbelly of everything, where it's like, I love movies where it's like you see something on the surface and it's like kind of perfect, but then there's like all these other little things going on concurrently that are like not so great, or it's like, or it's just sort of like how this, where you see how the sausage gets made, sort of kind of.
Mhm.
So it's like it's very Raymond Carver's work. It's very specific in that way, and this movie I think did a great job of portraying that. Um, and it was one of those movies, kind of like Love Actually, where it's like one family, like there's a story about one family, say, and then there's a story about another one, and then like later on you find out that the two women are sisters.
Mhm.
So all these people overlap in ways that you kind of don't know how they, like it's not obvious how they overlap, but they do. And it's clever and interesting, and just sort of a nuanced look at just, I don't know, life, I guess. Very,
Katie, who was in it? Is there, like, give me a famous
yes. So
actor?
it was Tim Robbins back when he was hot.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah.
Matthew Modine back when he was hot.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Trying to remember. Uh, Julianne Moore.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, she was in it. But there's so many other people that I'm forgetting, and I'm not, it's just, it was so good. It just very, very interesting. Like that was, so I don't know if you've asked this question yet, but that was like probably the first movie that made me think.
Hmm.
And it sort of stayed with me. And then I went to college, like right after that.
Mhm.
And then like in college, all I wanted to do was look at like the other side, like the upside down side of everything. And so
Mhm.
I took a ton of philosophy classes. I had enough to like double minor in it.
Hmm.
So you didn't
Wow.
ask the
No, but I like that question because I was thinking recently, I don't know what triggered this in my head, was that Mrs. Lawrence
Yeah.
was one of our English professor or teachers
Mhm.
at high school. And she had us all watch Harold and Maude.
Oh yeah.
And
I
that
remember.
movie
movie.
was kind of a very, like, that was a big turning point for me in terms of like what a movie could be, dark humor, and kind of just that little bit of kind of antiquated feel to it and everything. Like it was very cinematic. And the message was great. Cat Stevens soundtrack was fantastic. And
Yep.
but that was a movie that made me go, oh, wow, movies could be something really influential. And it's still one of my favorite movies to this day. I haven't watched it in a while, but I love that movie. And
It's a good one.
yeah,
It is.
and I try and watch, a lot of different genres of movies, but I think that was really influential to see.
I know. And I wish, like, I want to watch more movies like that. And this is just this time right now. I'm just like, ugh, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the other, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, Mark and I happened upon American Pie.
Oh boy. That's a
So
classic.
it's eight. And so obviously we had to watch the whole thing.
I know,
then
and yeah, you
watch-
get Eugene Levy in there, and
Mhm.
But we couldn't just do it. We had to watch every single sequel because you can't.
Oh,
Some
of course.
are. I mean,
American Reunion.
yeah. And we're binge watching The Crown. Obviously, that's the one thing. I talked to a friend of mine today, and she hasn't seen. She hasn't seen The Crown yet, and I was like, I'm so jealous of you because she hasn't seen any of it yet,
Mhm.
and spent all of Thanksgiving weekend binging all 4 seasons.
wow, you have to talk me into that one because
Oh,
Seth
and
Meyers the other night said something about watching The Crown, and he was like, I mean, seriously, how many shots of like royals staring out a window while a old car pulls up in a circular driveway? How many times can we see that?
Well,
So
that's reminiscent of the SNL skit when they're doing the trailer for Downton Abbey. And it's like the critics' quotes are like, it's basically a movie about cleaning. and then they show like all the downstairs staff doing all the cleaning.
Downton Abbey. But the one part we did watch, and Mark and I are always quoting it back to each other, was, if you're going to be all American, go upstairs.
I'm sure Mark would say that.
Yes.
You can just hear him.
We should mention that Mark is from the British Isles.
Yes.
But The Crown, oh,
Yes.
it's so good. I know it's
Okay.
not, but it's like a movie. It's as well done as a movie. It's so awesome. But this
Yeah.
last season has been fun because it's all about Margaret Thatcher. And so Mark will like pause it. He'll be like, so this is what it was like. And like because a lot of the stuff he remembers, or he's like, that didn't happen that way. But we're like the end of the season 3 and then all of season 4, like that's his childhood. Not in the British royal family, but like living in England.
Right. He wasn't in the royal family, Katie.
Prince
No,
Mark.
He's about no. Polar opposite.
There was something that you mentioned before that I was thinking about in terms of like movies that, what do you feel like you've played on a loop, like, or what, like, I think especially in high school, like there were a lot of great movies when we were in high school, like what kind of played on a loop for you? And that's probably an antiquated phrase, on a loop. On
Film
tape.
or audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in high school. That was sort of a good year. Like those were good movies that came out. Like when Harry Met Sally came out, we were like sophomores or juniors.
Top Gun. I
Gun.
remember Daryl Dazan came over and was like, have you seen Top Gun? And I was like, no. And he brought, like, he had the VHS of, they
Yes.
lived across the street, and he was like, all right, you got to watch this. So we sat and watched Top Gun.
Yeah. Top
I
Gun would definitely be one for me, and Pretty Woman would probably be the other
Oh,
one
yes.
of like multiple watching.
Yeah, that was high
Yeah.
school. But Top Gun, remember, because Jim Cash wrote it. And so
Yes.
it played
Oh,
at this
that's right.
movie theater in downtown East Lansing for like a year.
That's right.
Well,
I
that's
forgot
dumb.
about that.
They shouldn't have done that. I said that's dumb. They shouldn't have done that. That was a good one though. I would say Top Gun.
So we tried to get George to watch it. We're like, George, this movie, you're going to love it. It's so great. And he was like bored after about 20 minutes. He's like, is this?
We've
this-
had a lot of those now that the girls are a little bit older. They just don't, they're not interested.
No.
I remember my mom wanting me to watch Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I refused. And my friend Shannon was over, and Shannon watched it with my mom. And I sat in like the opposite end of the house and pouted the entire time. That
So-
movie is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that movie now. So that's the thing. Like if you tell your kids, like, you should watch this, it's going to be so great.
Right.
Half the time they probably in their head think, there's no way I'm going to like this if my mom does, or my parents do.
Yeah, I think but I think too, though, like part of what the way kids are growing up now, especially kids our age, like, our kids in high school, like their experience with like screens is so different.
Yeah.
Like they're able to control their screens with a button in ways that our parents weren't able to control ours. And then their video games, like they're so interactive,
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and they're watching snippets too, like they're watching
and YouTube.
TikTok, and TikTok is like what, 30 seconds long, and
Right.
YouTube videos and all these things. I I feel like it's damaging everybody's attention span if they don't
Yeah,
already have.
Yeah.
shrinking.
But
Yeah.
they're consumers of entertainment. It's a totally different landscape
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
because they're not like, George can't understand. We're like, George, come watch The Crown with us, please. And he's like, you guys, no.
No.
And it's not like thinks we're lame. I mean, he does, but it's just more because like, he's like, why would I sit and watch this with you when I could be on my video game with my friends interacting with them?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
part of what's going on the screen versus like sitting and just watching the screen.
Yeah.
I think it would be a bigger problem if he did want to sit with you guys and watch The Crown instead of interacting with his friends.
Just like that part in 16 Candles when they're trying to get that boy
Yeah,
to go to the
right.
dance.
I want to stay with you guys. Exactly.
I want to go. I want to be with you guys.
I want to be with you guys.
So as a parting thought here, I mean, we could do this for 3 hours.
We probably could.
What if you what's a quote you want to leave me with from one of your favorites?
Oh gosh. Oh my
And
God.
take your time, but
That's Karen.
I don't mean
I
to
should
put
have
you
been
on the
prepared
spot.
for something like that.
That's all right. Take your time to think. I mean, there's so many good ones, but I will say that one of my favorite quotes, and I'll quote Steel Magnolias again, is just because of Dolly Parton has so many great lines in that movie. And one of my favorites is that she says to Olympia Dukakis at some point, she goes something about how some woman probably doesn't have like pantyhose on.
Oh yeah,
at the
Lycra.
wedding. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lycra. And she says something like, I haven't left my house without Lycra on these thighs my whole life, or in 30 years or something. And Olympia Dukakis looks at her and she goes, you were brought up right. And that's one of those moments where I feel like it just had such a great tone to it. Like, it's a simple line, but it just takes on its own
oh, for
force.
sure.
So yeah. So I'll start with that one, but
well, you've got more than I have right now. I feel like my head right now is swimming with movies, and I feel like I want to choose something that's inspirational or funny, and I'm literally drawing a blank.
is it
with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't be throwing anyone. Maybe that's it. That's my quote that I'm going to leave you guys with.
Okay, I like that one.
Rudy!
That's a good one. I'm like at a loss.
Well, sometimes
Is it
those
because of
Hallmark
your
movies
weekend
are hard to quote.
Right? They're so in depth. I mean, we've never talked about Mommy Dearest.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, yes.
That's another
or the Parent Trap.
Another one that or the Parent Trap.
Yes.
Oh my God. Karen, Katie and I have spent way too much time together, and clearly all we did was watch movies.
Wait, old Parent Trap or new Parent Trap?
Old Parent Trap.
Okay, please. I was gonna say, yeah.
Is there a different one?
That's okay. Verbena, the housekeeper.
Yeah.
She has a great line where she says something like, well, just her whole thing where she's like, but I don't say anything. Yeah. That's none of my business. It's none of mine, never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, something like that. None of
mine, never mind. If he wants to date a ninny and I don't want to, I don't say anything, but here's what I'll say,
Right.
She was a great character in that movie.
Katie and I, it's to the point where the restaurant scene that the girls set up to try to rekindle the parents' romance.
Oh yeah.
The restaurant was Martinelli's. Yes. And so Katie and I more than once have brought Martinelli's sparkling cider to each other's homes. Oh, and if I bring it to Katie, she'll say Martinelli's. And if she brings it to me, and I'll say Martinelli's. I mean,
I'm gonna think of that every time now. That's what they gave me at the end of my radiation was a bottle of Martinelli's.
Oh, that's so
a little
funny.
ribbon around it. Yeah, the text, they give you a little bag and it has a bottle of Martinelli's in there.
Oh, that's great.
Let's get together. Yeah. Two is twice as nice as one. Yeah. You gals, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm sure.
So when we get off the Zoom, let's just call each other and keep talking.
Well, let's just keep the text going with running quotes that you're going to be thinking of the rest of the night.
Right. So, they'll come back.
Yeah. It'll be the worm in your ear the rest
for
of the
sure.
night. So, all right. Love you gals.
Love you too. Thanks so much for letting us do this, Karen.
This was fun.